I'm Freya, and together with my colleague Patricia, who you just saw, um, and Ariana from the Adaptation AGORA project, we organized today's session. And yeah, a warm welcome to everybody who joined in. Today's online lecture is rather a collaborative session on disinformation and climate adaptation, and it's nice to have you all with us. Um, it's a collaborative event today, and we don't just have our group from the Technical University Dresden and our speakers of the Agora project, but we also have students from Sweden joining in, and we look forward to have a discussion and also to the input we are gonna get today. Um, so just to give a little background about our initiative and about the format, the Technical University of Dresden has an environmental group which is called TUUWI. And apart from other things on campus and beyond campus, we also organize these environmental lectures. And as part of the current lecture series, which is called Is a Greener World a Better World? How Greenwashing and Coal Alter Our Focus. We today welcome speakers, and I would like to give you a little outline of today, and we will go on as planned. Firstly, we have a keynote from Paula Gori from EDMO, the European Digital Media Observatory, who will introduce the topic of climate disinformation. And afterwards, we give the word to Alfredo Reeder from Adaptation AGORA. He will also then be the moderator of today's session. And then we get a presentation on the Adaptation AGORA digital tools by Spirodila Marcu and Antonella Mela. Sorry for not pronouncing the names right if I well, and afterwards we have a Q&A session in the remaining time. And yeah, without further ado, I would say let's start, and I hand the word over to Paula Gori from EDMO.
Thank you very much. I'll quickly share my slides. Just let me know. I think you see them now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm very happy to be here today, and I promise I will stay in the 20 minutes. So it's not easy when we talk about disinformation and climate change in general. So before starting deep diving into climate change disinformation, the big question is, what is disinformation? I don't know how familiar you are with this topic, so I will just quickly go through the definitions that we tend to use in the sector, which is a definition that you can see here, which is that disinformation includes all forms of false, inaccurate, or misleading information designed, presented, and promoted to intentionally cause public harm or for profit. And the intentionality here is quite an important element, including the others, and including the fact that it has to cause public harm or for profit. While we talk about misinformation when there is no intention to harm. So easily said, you are sharing something and you genuinely think that it is something that is based on facts, but it is actually not. So it's not your fault if you want, but you are sharing something that actually can create harm. And I will not deep dive into the legal framework in relation to disinformation, but overall, within the EU policy framework, disinformation is not illegal, unless, of course, it is attached to illegal content like, for example, hate speech. And this is quite important to say because, of course, as you can imagine, one of the reasons because we don't want this information to be considered illegal relates to fundamental rights, such as also, of course, freedom of expression. Now, this information can come in lots of forms, and I will bring some examples related now to climate change. As you will see after my examples, what is really interesting is that it is unfortunately quite easy to produce this information. It is also easy to spread it, and you don't need AI. So of course you need AI. If you have AI, you can produce even more, content that looks even more if you want, true, but actually also with just a miscaptioned picture, you can get your aim. Where AI actually is also quite actually used by disinformers is rather on the distribution side. So I'm not saying it's not used on the content production side, on the contrary, but where probably right now it is doing even more damage is when it is used to actually, after the content is produced, to spread it. So a few examples just to show you here what we saw on climate change, and these are really a few of tons of examples that we are seeing within EDMO, but also in other organizations. One example is here related to, of course, the floods that you remember happened in Spain, and there we saw lots of disinformation content, which really spammed from disinformation on the administration content. And in this case here, it's an article saying that actually the whole fault of this was not climate change, but actually geoengineering. So basically that the rain was somehow produced. In this other content here, where you see this parked car, the message is, yes, this is an electric car, but actually the generators to produce that electricity, they are powered with actually with diesel. So basically, we are not solving the problem. This other picture, which I often show, it really shows how easy it is to spread disinformation. So as you can see here, you can see it's a picture. I don't know how well you see it, but actually it's a picture where you see lots of garbage on a field. And basically this picture it's years that it is actually spreading online. And it is basically it is miscaptioned in the sense that the picture goes with a text saying that this is the aftermath of a speech by Greta Thunberg. And so basically she is kind of the number one activist against climate change, but then you see lots of garbage on the ground when people then join her speeches. The picture is indeed real, but it is actually the aftermath of a concert and not of a speech by Greta Thunberg. So you see here, it's just a matter of miscaptioning a picture. And the same could happen, for example, when you want to, for example, translate videos of politicians, for example, especially when they are in a language that is not the language of a given country. Think of, for example, I don't know, a speech by, well, Joe Biden that is then wrongly translated with wrong subtitles. So this is just to show you how easy it is, unfortunately, still to produce content, and these are very reduce it. This is another example when it is actually, this was a piece of content saying that actually a single eruption of the Etna volcano, which is, as you know, in Italy, emits 10,000 times more CO2 than the amount produced by humanity in all of its history. Again, this is not based on facts. While it is true that the Etna volcano emits quite a lot of CO2, the percentage on the overall production is actually 0.0001, so very, very low. So here again, basically just a picture with a statement that looks like a scientific statement, and we will get back to that later. You will excuse me if I'm going a little quick, but I want to provide all the messages within these 20 minutes. And here just are the last two examples. One is actually climate change denial, who actually is saying that he had to leave out the full truth to get actually his paper published. So basically saying, I had to admit that climate change exists, otherwise my paper wouldn't have been published. And the other piece of content which was spread all over Europe is related to climate lockdowns. So I don't know how familiar you are with the 15 minutes city theory, but basically there is this actually architect that is promoting this project, saying that it would be great if for us citizens, if we could reach the amenities within 15 minutes walk distance, basically schools, grocery, hospitals, and so on. This theory was, this project was actually then used by conspiracy theorists to say that actually governments do want to lock down again the population, and that citizens wouldn't be able actually to go beyond their city area, that no one would be able to drive a car anymore, and so on and so forth. So basically what conspiracy theorists did here, they were playing quite a lot on our emotions related to COVID-19 lockdown to actually spread disinformation on something which is what we're seeing. Now, just to give you a sense of where the disinformation machine is coming and where it is going in relation to climate change. The first, if you want, message that started years ago was, there is no global warming, so there is no climate change. So this is a trend denial, just denying that it exists. Then the second step was saying, okay, it exists, there are changes, but they are not anthropogenic, so they cannot be attributed to human causes. So attribution denial. The other step, it was then to say there is no negative impacts on humans and on the environment. So whatever is happening is actually for the positive. Another denial is related to science, which says basically there is no consensus among scientists on the human causes. And then the new, if you want, wave, which started some years ago, is saying, okay, it exists, but actually green solutions are also equally polluting. And in general, there is also a narrative saying it is not so severe, it is not urgent, or on the contrary, it is so severe that actually we are already too late. So as you can see, it's a machine that wants to create doubt about the reality of the phenomenon, about the urgency, about the credential of the scientist, and about the solutions. Just a few narratives that are basically behind the disinformation content that I just showed and that reflect what I just said. Any policy plan to tackle climate change would negatively affect economic growth. Green energy doesn't work. Alternative solutions are equally polluting. The media exaggerate and want to create panic within society. There is no evidence of the existence of climate change or of the human causes, and activists in general are inconsistent. Remember the picture that was attributed to Greta Thunberg. Now, as I was saying earlier, to produce disinformation is quite cheap and easy. What is not, I mean, the opposite of that is that actually you can profit quite a lot from disinformation in general, and also from disinformation on climate change in particular. And as you can imagine, there is lots of economic interest behind, on one side from the whole industry, the fossil fuel industry, but also on the online platforms, for example, that are monetizing on the advertisement that, for example, fossil fuel companies are doing online, as well as, of course, all those digital content creators that are spreading disinformation online. As you can see here, I'm just putting an example of a research that was done last year by the CAAD. You can see the numbers here that are related to Meta, and this is like from October 20, from basically in a month, in a year, sorry, 8 fossil fuel entities paid Meta 17.6 million for advertising, just to give you the numbers. And unfortunately, the same happens, for example, also with traditional media. There's lots of paid editorial content on traditional media, which, as you know, have a declining business model, paid by fossil fuel companies throughout Europe. And actually, very recently in Italy, there was one traditional media which was accused by Greenpeace for not giving them the possibility to actually pay for a campaign on this media, because the media actually is getting lots of paid articles by fossil fuel companies. Now, don't get scared. We will not go through all of that because we won't have time. But this is just to show you quite, if you want, in a nutshell, the different actors, but also triggers that are related to climate change disinformation. And we'll go very quickly through those. But maybe what is clearly evident here is that they're all connected, some more, some less, but they do all kind of feed into the others. So starting, for example, with the fossil fuel company, industry, what they started doing already in the 60s and 70s is that they started paying for biased think tanks, especially in the US, but also throughout other regions and in Europe as well. So think tanks that actually somehow try to deny the existence of climate change or the impacts of climate change or the human causes related to those. What they also do is the famous greenwashing. For those who don't know it, this is basically to do basically activities that somehow, especially advertising activities, that let consumers think that actually that industry is green when it is not. And they, of course, pushed a lot with lobbying, so towards politicians to get, for example, regulatory frameworks more in favor of the industry rather than in favor of tackling climate change. in parallel to those online platforms, as I was saying earlier, they get the money for advertising, though some companies, some platforms have policies related to the fact that you cannot advertise anything that goes against science, especially also on climate science. This doesn't mean that they don't accept in general advertising space from fossil fuel industry. They monetize on that, as well as the digital content creators. As you know, or you may know, you monetize. The more content becomes viral, the more you can monetize on that. And there again, there is the whole advertising industry that is gaining from that. Climate change disinformation can also be shared by states, mainly for economic and geopolitical purposes. For example, Russia in Africa, they are spreading quite a lot of disinformation, saying that the EU Green policy is actually a colonialism strategy to actually stop or slow down the growth of the African continent. And on the other side, of course, as you can imagine, Russia has quite an economic interest in making sure that fossil fuel, I don't know how familiar you are with that. It's a sort of creating one message after the other to create the feeling that there is a grassroots, so from not top down but bottom up, that there is within the community a movement that is going into the direction of a certain position, in this case denying climate change. Misinformation, as I was saying before, we see this whole chaos there and we generally think that there is some truth in it. The other element which I wanted to just quickly focus is that actually relates to disinformation in general and also to climate change disinformation is, of course, we are currently witnessing a quite polarized society where divisive content online that plays with our emotions gets easily viral. And this is where creating panic about climate change or a discourse of anger, of fear, and so on is quite effective because, as research shows, negative emotions are unfortunately bringing us to be more irrational online and are more viral than positive ones. And related to that, there is also the fact that many citizens, they don't want to give up on their habits that often are related to a liberal market in which you have all the like a life where actually there is less attention to what we would like in relation to climate change. And the two are quite related because, and unfortunately, we don't have too much time to deep dive in that, but there is a whole issue also of economic security, of frustration, of loneliness of society that creates this whole phenomenon. I'm sorry if I was too quick, and I'm happy, of course, to take questions on that as well later on. Very quickly to the next slide. Before we go to the solutions, just think also of quick reflects human being reflect and are. On one side, we tend to simplify stuff and we all want to have somehow an ownership on the cause-effect dynamic. So for example, if I see a grilled vegetable on a grill, I see the cause effect. The grill was actually grilling those vegetables. You see the other picture here. You see a kid who is basically running under the rain, and the day after he is sick. Here again, our brain has a cause effect. Though if you think of it, it's not necessarily true in the sense that it could have been that the kid was sick already when he was running under the rain, and that actually the day after he was basically the symptoms came out. But still, it is reassuring for us to know that we were able alone, without the help of anybody, to understand why something happened. Simplification is a reassurance for everybody. However, when it's about science, and in this case about climate science, we need to cope with complexity. And this is where disinformation can easily enter, because disinformation is really about simplification. It's about empowering the victims of disinformation of an easy solution to something that is happening. And this is something to take into consideration, especially when it is disinformation related to science, and in this case, of course, related to climate change. Now, quickly moving to the solutions, there are lots of solutions which are quite aligned in the approach to disinformation in general, where we say that we have a multi-stakeholder, multidisciplinary, and in general multi-layered approach. It's not just one thing, it's a bunch of things that together can work. Research is key because research is the element happening and how we have to tackle it. And research, to go back to the examples that I was just mentioning, is not just climate research or political sciences or legal when it's about regulatory frameworks, but it's also, for example, neurosciences to understand how our brain works. Media literacy, and I think the projects that are presented later are a good example for that, including gaming, pre-banking. So it's something like basically explaining to society how disinformation works, which could be the messages that one could encounter, so that once you get them in touch with those contents, you are actually immune, as I say, so you are prepared for that. Debunking, so the famous fact-checking. Platform regulation, and I don't know how many of you are familiar, for example, with the Code of Practice on Disinformation and the Digital Services Act. Advertising regulation, ethical codes for journalists and influencers. There's lots of debate on how much journalists actually cover climate change, how much there is denial also on traditional media. Demonetization, I think this is clear why. Science should be able to talk to citizens. So there should be more strategic communication and more courses also in, for example, in faculties to teach to scientists, to academics, how to explain, not to simplify, but to explain in easier way to citizens the research they work on. And to go back to what I was saying earlier, media and journalists have a responsibility here, have clear responsibility. An example, for example, is Quota Climat in France, where they are basically monitoring how much climate change is covered by traditional media, how much disinformation on climate change is shared on traditional media, and they're keeping them accountable. And also remember that while there is lots of disinformation on climate change, climate activists are in any case still the majority in the world. You can have a look at, for example, the 89% project. Promise is the last slide. More in general for you, when you are talking to people and you think kind of, oh, how the hell is it possible that this person is actually getting entrapped with climate change disinformation? A few tips. The first is, it's an easy one, but we tend to forget it, especially because we get emotional. Listen first, because no one is like happy to be told that that they are wrong. So before attacking, listen, so that you start from a position in which we are all at the same place. The other thing is, while data are indeed quite important to show, they are also something that is not tangible. And so it's important to, yes, use data as an evidence, but not exaggerate. The other thing is to emphasize the benefits of the mitigation measures. And this is something that there are numerous studies, and also one on Nature, which is quite impressive on that. So rather than saying there is climate change, we have to do something and so on, focus on what actually are the advantages in applying climate change mitigation measures. The other very important thing is communication must be mindful of cultural identities. So for example, if I'm based in Italy, for example, if I go to people and talk about polar bears, it's something too far from us. It's rather important talking about, for example, how agriculture changed in our country, where in Sicily they are producing avocados they were not in the past. So something where you can touch. And this goes also to the next point. And the final point is the importance of the messenger, who always needs to be trusted. So if you think that you are not the trusted person of your interlocutor, rather involve someone who he or she could trust, so that the message goes through in a more effective way. I hope I was in the 20 minutes. I leave you also here my email if you have any follow-up questions, but I'm also happy to take some now, as unfortunately afterwards I have to leave.
Paula, thank you for your relevant and inspirational speech. I take the floor as a moderator. I don't know if from the audience there is some question. Otherwise, I have a question to you. introducing a solution, you say that the first point is research. So I would like to take the dress code of research and asking you one thing that is probably critical is now we are in a world where researcher is judged through bibliometric scores, so throughout the number of citation, the publication of a lot of paper with different type of quality. What is your feeling about the peer review process of this material? And even if the fact that research now is judged through citation can foster disinformation, because it's important not the quality but the quantity of publication.
That's a very tricky question. I think so. On the peer review, I think this is the only process that actually ensures that science keeps being science. I mean, otherwise it's not science anymore. We need to check against the community also because we need science to be challenged. So the whole idea behind science is that it holds true until someone actually finds an opposite or a different actually result. So we need a challenge, and that's why I think peer review is fundamental. Now, on quantity over quality, I think, of course, quality gains on quantity. And I think in some fields, this is starting to become an acknowledgement. But of course, there is lots of, I mean, there is if you want, a tradition that we need to change and steer towards another direction. I think what is interesting in this field is that the research can be pretty much interdisciplinary. So, for example, as, I don't know, an economist, you can publish on a journal, a psychology journal, or you can work with psychologists as a legal expert in the field to do something jointly. So you can also enter another sphere, because also there in research, for example, the rankings in, I don't know, in economy are completely different compared to the legal scholars, for example. So the fact that you can do lots of interdisciplinary work, I think is something that can help. And the other thing is, in this field, data access is fundamental. So we need lots of data analysts and data research, because once the platforms hopefully soon will give us access to the data, we will get to learn lots of more evidence, also especially also in relation to climate change disinformation.
Okay, thank you. From the chat, I can look, but okay, there is one question. Okay, sorry. First question is by Freya. Question on the presentation can be okay. Okay, second one. Sorry, Victoria. How can you, as a not very science person, read the scientific paper? Robert said, be able to check a scientific source and notice if they are manipulating the information to push a certain view.
So this is a very good question, and you understand why I was saying that in academia we should have also courses to academics, to professors, to actually teach how to better communicate, which is something that is actually happening. In many universities, including here at the TUUWI, we have communicators helping us to understand, basically to teach us how to communicate science and make it accessible. Now, your question has two parts. The second part, I would say, is if you are verifying something, as I said, look if it is peer-reviewed, look at the authors, check the affiliation of the authors, also check other, for example, look at the citations and at the quotes, at the bibliography. So look also for other researchers in the field, but also, so basically this could somehow guide you a little, while I understand, however, that it is quite hard. But that's already something. So as we do it with normal content, look at the source, not only at the content, but also at the source, and verify. So for example, on Google Scholar, you can find lots of the papers, so, and also different views. Now, if you are based at a university, your university should give you access to almost all resources. If you're not based at a university, public libraries do have it. So you can go to a public library and they can give you access to many resources. To read scientific papers, I agree, it is quite difficult. However, to go back to what I was saying earlier, many universities now do have blog posts, and blog posts are indeed used for scientists to explain something in a more accessible way. So I would suggest you to see if there are blog posts of trusted academic institutions that are talking about it, because very often even the abstract is not something that it is easily digestible.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Paula, also for the answer. And okay, from the chat, I'm not able to see any other question. So I
Maybe
think that, sorry,
I can
Catalina?
ask something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just a curiosity. In your work in EDMO, there are there are like statistics about which European country is more vulnerable to climate disinformation.
So we don't have statistics on which country is more vulnerable, but what I can tell you is that climate change disinformation is pretty much related to what is happening in that given moment. So when it is hot in a country or too cold in a country, immediately, or there are unfortunately natural disasters like floods or fires, this is immediately you see disinformation, whichever country. The other thing is that unfortunately it is very much politicized. So under elections, it's something that you can see quite often, and we saw it also before, for example, the EU elections. In all countries, at a certain moment, there were this climate change disinformation narratives around. And the other thing is it can be used to actually support other quite, how can I say, extreme positions. For example, just as an example, when there were the fires in Greece, it was said, and this was disinformation. First, it was said that they were not related to climate change. And then it was said that actually the cause was basically the related to migrants who actually started the fire. So it was immediately used to accuse migrants and to start the whole policy against migrants. So and these trends, we see them in all countries, more or less, but we see them in all realities. So I don't have statistics on like if there are countries in them all depending on the given, and this is pretty much something typical to disinformation. We always say disinformation goes where the news are. I mean, it's rare that there is something that is in that moment not so appealing because it wouldn't basically impact citizens.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. From the audience, there are other questions. Okay, so Paula, thank you. Very nice introduction to the topic. It has been a pleasure for us to learn about disinformation. Of course, if you have other questions, you can contact Paula via mail. There is another message. Another one. Sorry, last one. Okay. How can scientists and institutions build trust or choose the right messenger to communicate with those who are most distrustful toward governments and science? Example, those who believe in conspiracy theories. Are there any promising case study of what worked?
So my first and short answer would be make them happy, which is a provocation, of course, but is a little, maybe you remembered when I was saying earlier that there are also, I mean, disinformation is the symptom of something bigger. We are in a society where actually there is economic insecurity, where welfare and social rights are reduced, where there is lots of loneliness, there is frustration, there is a drop in education, and all that is the best trigger to then believe in conspiracy theories. So it's also hard in some cases to kind of attack those who believe in those theories because you can understand why they believe in those theories. So I think that the way to somehow create again a link of trust in institutions, in media, in science, is actually listening to the real needs of these people and understanding why they so much have a need to believe in conspiracy theories. Think again of the cause effect slide that I was showing you earlier. And the other thing is in relation to media literacy, we tend to underestimate the importance of having media literacy initiatives, not only for for children or for teenagers, but for the whole society, because we all somehow are impacted by that. Technology is evolving at a very speedy. And so what I know today, I won't know it tomorrow. So we need, for example, media literacy initiatives at workplaces or in libraries, or for example, also in institutions which are welcoming the elderly people. So we need them. It's a lifelong learning process. And this is something where member states should invest more. It cannot be a competence of the EU, because the EU has no competence on education, but it's something where member states should invest way more, because the more we kind of create resilience, the more we can recreate trust. The other thing, and then I will stop because I think that otherwise I take too much time, is the media also have a responsibility. So you know that in media there is this correct approach that you always, like, if you invite a person that has a position, you invite also a person that has the opposite position. And the same has started happening with scientists, but actually science is not a matter of opinion. So while it's like I'm saying, I'm inviting a medical doctor telling me why I don't know, sugar is actually bad for diabetes, and then I invite someone else who is not a medical doctor who has another opinion. It would be a little strange that I really put them in the same position. So while it is of course important that you keep inviting people with a different opinion, explaining, for example, to people that one person is a scientist and that there is scientific evidence behind what he or she is saying, while the other person is not a scientist, make people aware about the difference between opinion and science. So there are many different elements that we can use to make sure that people go back in trusting institutions and science rather than what is easy, because I understand it is easy, but not actually useful for our life.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with Victoria, the instant gratification is what makes it easy. But in any case, you can drop an email if you have any other questions. And I'm really sorry I have to leave, but thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the session.
Okay. Thank you, Paola. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Okay, Antonella, can you share the screen with the presentation? Okay, thank you. So after this very inspirational speech, I will take a few time to introduce the Adaptation Agora project. First of all, I would like to thank Free and Patricia for this collaborative effort to organize this capacity building session. I think that Paula, Agora project. So science talks to citizen, access to data, learning, disinformation. But what is Adaptation Agora project? Is a European project coordinated by CMCC Foundation, that is a research foundation located in Italy. And the aim of the project is to contribute to the objective of the European mission for climate change adaptation. So it's one of the 5 missions established in the European Union, and Adaptation Agora is the first project dealing with the topic of stakeholder engagement, creating bridge between scientists and different segments of the society, disinformation topic, and so on. The main objective of Adaptation Agora is to promote activity community engagement in adaptation process, involving citizen in climate action, collaborating with institution and local actor. This is one of the examples of this type of collaboration, fostering social transformation, and adopting multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary approaches, integrating scientific, social, and technical knowledge. So next slide, please. Adaptation Agora performed its activity within 4 pilot regions here reported. Regions are located at Dresden in Germany, Malmo in Sweden, Saragossa in Spain, and Rome in Italy. But along with the pilot site, you can see the followers. Followers are those cities, those entities that are interested to share and learn with and by Adaptation Agora. So it's a very huge plethora of people, citizens involved. 3 main pillars are here reported. So there are the pilot regions, there are the digital tools, and we will spend more words after, and there are citizen engagement methodologies, because one of the main ambitions of the project is to map, to understand which type of engagement methodology are more suitable for specific segment of the society. We made a lot of experience with different type of audience, from student up to elder people, up to prisoner and people, and for example medical staff. So try to understand how we can promote adaptation in different sectors of our common life. Next slide, please. Citizen engagement and climate action. The involvement of a broad audience is, of course, essential to ensure the effectiveness of climate action. Think that the European Union, through a well-known platform called the Climate Adapt, you can explore this platform, set a sort of cycle that is the RAS tool that explain the journey through adaptation. And in each step, citizen engagement is an important role, because public participation can lead to more ambitious and transformative planning and implementation. It enables building and improving awareness and understanding of vulnerability and risk, and facilitate the implementation of action, including behavioral change. So in this way, adaptation is something not that is from top down, but is something that can be shared between citizens as a urgency and opportunity. Next slide. In this concept, as you can understood by the speech of Paula, information is important for engagement, is important as is the basis for an active participation of citizens in democratic process and climate actions. There are some keywords here reported, so awareness, action, and critical thinking. But the wrap up is that information is the key for an effective engagement. Next slide, please. About disinformation, we can say that disinformation is not the same as no information. Here is reported a specific definition. Next slide, please. The last IPCC report, the IPCC is the entity of United Nations that address climatic issue, providing the state of the art of our knowledge throughout the analysis of scientific publication. So another time the word research, address the issue of impact of disinformation, climate action throughout this putting this sentence that is reported, disinformation resulting in public misperception of climate risk in delaying urgent adaptation planning and implementation. Next slide. So, in adaptation, this is our last slide before to leave the floor to the other colleague to continue on the road of disinformation. We are performing several capacity building activities that are in report. The first type of activities are capacity building events on disinformation, like the one that now we are living. this experience has been performed also in the other pilot and other country, but we are very happy to put together different knowledge, different personalities coming from different parts of the world at different pilots. The second type of activity is a peer-to-peer learning workshop that are specific. Antonella, next slide. Yeah, specific series of events here listed for the city, where policymaker and practitioner are called to interact on specific topic. So, like for example, adaptation to heat wave, the role of energy community, flooding, and so on. And the last pillar of our capacity building experience is to produce and collect several resources for capacity building in our Zenodo community. So the idea is to make our material free for use. So in this way, citizen, practitioner, and everyone can access this material like presentation, video, and other, and can reuse it for specific activity, or only to learn, to take inspiration for other concern. Next slide, please. So I say that we talk about digital solution in the next minutes. So in general, Adaptation Agora project are producing 4 digital tools that with the aim to provide the general public with an open space that supports the growth of wide community of informed at our citizens. So science talk to citizens, data access, disinformation. What here are reported different tool. One is the Agora Community Hub, that is a place where people can take inspiration from narratives coming from several experiences throughout the projects in other projects. And you can also find a chat where you can put a specific question, and then it can foster a dialogue between pairs. There are 2 digital academias, one on climate information, the other one on climate disinformation, with specific learning space. There is a mobile app, and there is a Voices of Climate Adaptation, that is a digital handbook that tell all the experience of this fantastic journey. 2 of these tools are directly address the challenge of disinformation. So I will give the floor to Spiritura Marcau to introduce the Academy Against Climate Change Disinformation.
Thank you, Alfredo. So, hello everyone. My name is Spiridoula Marcou, and I work as a fact-checking consultant at Athens Technology Center. So, today we'll present you the Digital Academy Against Climate Change Disinformation. As mentioned earlier, this academy is one of the digital tools developed as part of the Adaptation Agora project. So the academy is designed to equip individuals with the knowledge and skills to identify and counter climate-related misinformation. So through this presentation, I will walk you through the purpose, the structure, and the resources that you can find available on the platform. So next slide, please. So the Digital Academy has 2 main goals: to provide reliable fact checks on climate change disinformation, and also offer educational modules that boost media literacy. So it aims to empower the public, educators, and also stakeholders to recognize false narratives and also build resilience. So the Academy is evolving with more content to be added soon. Next slide, please. Our academy is a collaborative hub, which is co-created with consortium members and open to contributions from experts and also fact-checkers. Users, for example, they can submit their fact checks for review. ensuring this that we have, science-based content. So far, members also of the EDMO and signatories of IFCN and IFCSN have expressed their interest in order to contribute to our academy. Next slide, please. You have, I think, also the co-presenters have provided some information concerning misinformation, what is misinformation and what is information. So we can move to the next slide, where we focus on the fact-checking, which is a key tool in order to address disinformation and misinformation. It involves verifying the accuracy of information found in news articles, speeches, social media posts, and other multimedia content. A crucial part of this process is recognizing the cognitive biases, meaning the mental shortcuts and and patterns that influence how we interpret the information we receive. It is also important to know that what can and what cannot be fact-checked. For example, we can fact-check statements that involve data, scientific findings, or misuse of claims. However, opinions cannot be fact-checked. Instead, someone can assess whether those opinions are supported by credible evidence or scientific research. Next slide, please. Our academy places special emphasis on climate change disinformation, which often spread in order to confuse the public understanding, delay climate action, or protect vested interests, particularly from interests that contribute to the greenhouse emission. By equipping users with facts-based insights, the academy aims to counter these harmful narratives and also support the efforts in order to promote climate action. Next slide, please. The Digital Academy is designed for a diverse audience, and many experts on the field are the potential contributors. Next slide, please. So our visitors will have access to 4 primary types of materials. First, fact checks that debunk climate change disinformation narratives. Second, modules to enhance their skill and knowledge related to climate change disinformation and media literacy. Third, they will have access to relevant resources such as media literacy materials that enhance users' ability to critically assess and also the climate related information. And fourth, we will have biannual reports that provide a comprehensive analysis of the state of climate change disinformation that draws data from different sources. So these materials can be used for personal learning or adapted by educators to design lessons and training sessions tailored to the audience needs. So next slide, please. The Digital Academy consists of 4 main pages, all of which can be easily accessed from the homepage. Next slide, please. The first key section of the Academy is the climate change disinformation modules. So these 5 modules aim to enhance users' knowledge and skills regarding climate change, while also provide some insights on how disinformation spreads. So the modules help users to recognize the false narratives, understand the mechanisms that promote those narratives, and also develop the ability to critically evaluate climate-related claims. Next slide, please. Another critical component of the Academy is the fact-check section. So fact-checks are short articles that examine the most prevalent climate change disinformation narratives. Next slide, please. Every fact-check starts with a brief overview of the misleading narrative. So then we present scientific data from established organizations to explain why the narrative is false or misleading. We also include a brief description of the fallacy behind the narrative. So in order To identify these common manipulative techniques, users will better understand the methods that they use, the method used in order to spread misinformation and disinformation. Additionally, to ensure transparency, each fact check concludes with a list of credible sources used during the verification process. We currently have one fact check uploaded on the website, but new fact checks will continue to be uploaded in the coming months, ensuring that our platform remains up to date. Next slide, please. In order to foster a most collaborative approach that aligns also with the co-creation philosophy of the Adaptation Agora project, we have introduced the Submit Your Fact Check initiative. So when users submit fact checks through this page, we carefully review them, and if they meet our criteria, they're published on the website with proper acknowledgements given to the authors. Next slide, please. One of the upcoming resources in the Digital Academy will be the first biannual report on climate change disinformation. This report will combine the latest scientific research with insight from organizations specializing in disinformation, such as EDMO, the European Fact-Checking Standards Network. It will also include information on disinformation spread by various industries. This report, we aim, this report to assist in the understanding of the evolving landscape of climate change disinformation. Next slide, please. Now moving on to our media literacy section, the Digital Academy offers 7 modules to boost media literacy and critical thinking. It helps users assess information accuracy, spot manipulation and bias, evaluate the sources, and counter false narratives. So our aim is to build resilience against climate change disinformation. Next slide, please. In this slide, you can see an example screenshot from one of our educational modules, the fact-checking and verification module. So each module is designed to be user-friendly and structured into chapters and sub-chapters for easier navigation. At the end of each chapter, there is a short quiz for users who want to test their knowledge before continuing. Additionally, the platform offers a cross-referencing between modules. For example, in the fact-checking and verification module, we provide basic terminology about climate change, but if a user feels they need a deeper understanding, they can follow a link to the Understanding Climate Change module for more detailed information. So this flexible structure allows users to personalize their learning journey and focus on the topics they feel they require further exploration. So next slide, please. The resources page on our website serves as a repository of all the resources and materials found on the website. Thus, users will be able, to filter resources based on different categories and criteria, making it more easier to access the targeted information based on their interests and needs. Next slide, please. One of our key goals is to connect the Digital Academy with other digital tools developed within the Adaptation Agora project. So this means that users engaging with the Academy's modules and other materials will be redirected to additional resources available in the broader Digital Agora ecosystem, including the gamified app, which we'll also present to you later. So by integrating these tools, we ensure that users can deepen their knowledge and engage with interactive learning experience. So next slide, please. In order to conclude, the Digital Academy Against Climate Change Disinformation, we believe that it's a valuable platform, that it is designed to address the growing challenge of false climate change narratives by combining fact checks, educational modules, and trusted resources, the Academy empowers users in order to build their knowledge, sharpen their critical thinking skills, and also contribute to the fight against climate change disinformation. Next slide, please. So thank you for me.
Okay, thank you, Spiridula, for your explanation about the Academy. Of course, if you have specific question, you can use the chat, and of course we will have the Q&A session at the end. Now it's time for Antonella to present the mobile app. Antonella, I will share the screen, okay? Or
Yeah. You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello everyone again. Another digital tool that Adaptation AGORA developed in these 3 years. I'm here on behalf of our Spanish partners, Ibercivis Foundation, that cannot join us today with us. And this other digital tool is the Agora Quiz app, that is a mobile, multi-platform mobile app. And this app has a main purpose that is engage citizens and engage stakeholders and raise awareness about climate change disinformation and climate change related topics, and also climate change adaptation, and promote media literacy. We talk a little bit with Paula about media literacy and how much important it is to go through this topic, because media literacy includes all that skills that set to access, analyze, and evaluate information disseminated by various sources, and also involved the ability to generate and create content in various formats. The app aims to support, of course, the education of citizens and on climate change related topics, and counter misinformation and disinformation campaigns through an engagement and an entertaining and engaging approach. Aims also to try to an interactive and fun experience, encouraging an active participation from citizens and stakeholders. Of course, the app was developed, as I just said, within the Adaptation AGORA project, supporting the efforts to combat climate-related disinformation. The app is built in this way. There are 3 game modes. There is a classic mode in which it's basically 10-question quiz about various topics about climate change fundamentals and communication, adaptation, and so on. And then there is the time trial mode, in which you earn extra time when your answer is correct. Instead, you are penalized if your answer is incorrect, and you lose time. Later on, I will show you a short tutorial video, so you can understand better all these 3 game modes and how the apps work actually. And then there is the category mode, in which you can choose between these 4 topics: climate change fundamentals, climate change disinformation, climate change communication and narratives, and media literacy. So we just talks a little bit about media literacy, and the other topics are about climate change fundamentals, so the basics and the physics basics about climate change, but also about the effects of climate change on society and economics. Climate change disinformation is about, of course, all the main narratives used to spread disinformation about climate change related topics. And then there is climate change communication and narratives that involved all the narratives and the other way in which we can spread knowledge about climate change, and in which way we can also involve other way like music and game to spread knowledge about these topics. Of course, the design is a user-friendly interface with dynamic feedback. You can track progress and performance over time in your settings in the app. And there are also rankings by score and time to encourage a friendly competition. So the question bank behind the mobile app has over 500 carefully reviewed questions covering all the topics that I just presented to you. And there, of course, there are credible references for each question. And in later on in the short tutorial video, we will show you how in the app actually you can access to the references and check the references. And all these content are created with the support of a lot of climate experts. In the app also you can find all our contacts, all our social media, and also you can access directly the academies, the academy that Spiridula just presented, but also the other academy that is the third Adaptation Agora digital tool, that is the Academy on Climate Data, to access climate data and use and monitor risk about climate change. The code of the app is available on GitHub. That is a open source repository for code, and the aim and the goal, but also the hope of Adaptation Agora project is to reuse, to let this code open to reuse for similar educational projects. Here you can download the app to get involved. The app is actually on a beta version yet, but we are more than happy if you want to give us feedback to make it better, to improve the app, to improve the content and so on. So you can download it both from Google Play or App Store, or you can directly contact our partner in Zaragoza at this email. So for me, that's it. Now I will ask Alfredo if he can share the short tutorial video to explain
okay.
much better in much detail how the app works.
Okay, I start.
Okay, here you can see how to download the app and all the login and create an account characteristics. So I think there is a music behind the video, but it's a little bit low, but it's okay because it's just music. So you can log in and choose the game mode. Here there is the interface. You can choose classic, time trial, or a categories mode, as I said before. So here you can start a classic game, in which basically is just a quiz, and you can check the references. You can check directly the references on Google, and then you can go back to the game and try the other modes, like the time trial mode, in which you lose points if your answer is incorrect in this way, and you earn time if your answer is correct. And then the last one is the categories mode. And you can choose between all the climate change fundamental, climate change disinformation, and so on. Of course, all of these topics are based on a lot of research and a lot of discussion with experts, and here you can access the ranking for both classic and time trial mode, in which basically you can see if you are going good. And then you can access the user area and the app settings, which you can edit profile, change password. There is also a tutorial. And then you can access the area in which you can find all the information about the project and all our contacts. So if you want to try, please scan the code and get the app and provide us feedback to improve our work. And thank you all.
Okay. I can stop the sharing. Thank you, Antonella, for this nice explanation of the app. I think that there is a question on the chat that is related to the app. The question say, could you go more specific into how you guys got in the idea of the app? I don't want to sound overly critical of this tactic, but lately sounds like all companies and organizations want to make a fun gaming app to help users to be informed on a certain topic, bring them closer to said company. For how long are people meant to use the app? How is meaningful for people to keep it on their phone that have limited storage?
Okay, yeah, I get the point. I mean, is a good point, because nobody has the same storage, nobody has the same ability to access some digital tools like this. I basically want to say that you can go deeper about the idea and about all the specific about the app. Directly contacted our partner in Saragossa with the mail that I provided. But the important topic that is we in the Adaptation AGORA project, we want to explore various form of communication and various form of narratives to try to reach a broad audience, to just start a conversation and just start a discussion about not just the problems behind the climate change, but about the solution and about how can citizens can directly involved in the decision making and in all the processes that allowed politicians and so on to reach a common solution for our community. So the aim is to try to find different ways to reach a broad audience. But I get your point. It's not so easy to reach all the target audience in different ways. And for each target audience, we need to clarify, and we need to think about how we can communicate and how we can reach that part of the population.
Okay, Antonella. Also, Alexander asked something related to the mobile app, similar as a question. In the meanwhile, I can also add other, Victoria asked to show again the QR code for downloading the mobile app. And okay, but there is also the link. On this, I would like also to stress that as Antonella explained, this is a communication method, a learning tool. What for us is important is not a commercial product. Is come from a research project funded by European Union. You can find all the question bank online. It can be accessed. You can access, sorry, the question bank through the GitHub link. So you can take a question. You can also take material for, I don't know, to create another type of the app, to increase the number of questions, to translate the question from English in other languages, so to promote a use of local user. And then you can use this as also a learning material. For example, if you'd like to have, I don't know, a discussion, a lecture, and so on. So for us, of course, your feedbacks are important, and we totally understand your point. Also the one by Alexander. And in terms of legacy, what I can say is that is expected that for at least 5 years, the app will be maintained active. Okay, but of course, there are all the material that are on the GitHub. So it's in any time you can access it. I don't know if there are other questions, sorry, from the audience. I don't know, also curiosity in general on the digital academy, on the different contents that you can find. I think, Spiritula, you can also put in the chat the link to the digital academy, so everyone can access it, can use also in offline mode. Of course, okay, there is another message. Okay, that is the app. Okay, this is interesting by Fabrizio. Are you planning to update the contents of the app? If so, how frequently? For the moment, we have not planned this, but due to the fact that the question bank is on GitHub, is free for use. This is one of our ambition as legacy of Adaptation Agora project. So to have an update revision of the different question, but it's not. This is something that we are thinking during the development of the app. Is not our initial intention, but during the development of the app, seeing that is a powerful tool for learning and communication. The idea is to maintain updated the question bank. Of course, we start with a whole range of questions, 500 if I remember, but of course the idea is to update and increase them. So I don't know if there are questions, someone that would like to also to speak for, yeah, people can speak. I can activate the microphone and put the question, or only the chat can be used. Antonella, is a question for you.
No, I think they can activate your, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if also Freya wants to add something.
Something, yeah.
Or Patricia.
Thanks for the input and thanks for your talk. From my point of view, there's nothing to be added. I just want to ask the participants again, if you have questions, then you can now ask. And also our questions on the lecture series will be uploaded just following short after today's session. So keep that in mind that you have to answer one of them. And yes, from my side, nothing to add. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Freya. And thank you all the TUUWI initiative to host this webinar.